Well, this is supposed to be cinematic. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go ahead and go with it this time. This is Monday, October the 13th, 2008's Anachronism that was posted. It's number 802. I think this is the correct one that I should be reading right now. Yes, it is. I think. It's called I Want to Read Along With... I want you to read along with me. I want you to read along with me. I want you to read a worthless moment with me. And read this farce. I want today Wallace Stevens, and did last night. Like which? And reading along. I want you to read me just escapes. It works. Reading this stuff with Whitman and Pittsburgh, please. I want you mix, you market and yearn, environmental lingo, you mantra, you arrondissement. I want you read me, please. Like, thanks. You know, these are a lot of these poems that this month particularly, as I read them, they're just over a minute long. And I have, because I do this for it's a YouTube channel that I'm putting this on. YouTube really, if it's an under minute long piece, they really do advertise it for you. They really do send it out. There are people that you don't know that you know, like I'll get 100 hits in one day from a poem that's under 100 minutes. Granted, most people aren't looking at the whole thing, but they're not your regular people. They're just like people that they just send them out to, that YouTube sends them out to with their algorithm for whatever reason, however reason, and whatever. I don't think they're. It's just that I'm beginning to have this problem with the fact that, you know, I'm trying to sometimes, occasionally, quickly read these poems down. And I'm a fast reader, and I like that I read quickly. I do have this thing about reading fast. I think it's I like to read faster than you can understand what I'm saying, which is a Tom Rayworth thing to do. It's there's other people that do it. I always think of Tom Rayworth. At least the one... I don't know that I ever heard him read more than once, but the one time I ever heard him read, that was his thing. And plus he also had these weird instruments that he would read with. That's a different story. I couldn't begin to tell you the whole story because I'm sure that there's a lot to him that I did not know or do not know. And I'm saying this as if I'm not even sure that he's still alive. I know he's had a lot of health difficulties and stuff. And I have lost touch with everybody. I don't speak with anybody. It's not my doing. I used to try, but it doesn't. It's just everybody. Nobody talks to me. Don't I sound sad? I'm not sad about this anymore. In fact, I'm moving to a different place with it, and I will be speaking with people very soon. I think I really have this really gung ho attitude about it. I will have a social circle. I will have a new poetry swap group, which was always extremely important to me. I don't know why people don't speak with me anymore. It just is, it did become, for the longest time, people that I knew before I was homeless that just stopped talking to me. It became the most difficult thing I'd ever encountered in my entire life. More than the homelessness itself, more than anything, more than being left by the one person that I trusted, that I'd been with for 13 years, more than the 2 or 3 people that left me under particular circumstances, which were crazy to me still at this time. I mean, I dealt with it during what was the worst time in my entire life. And I'm coming to terms now with a lot of things about that, and it has to do with the conversation I had with my brother, of all things, which maybe someday I'll write about. I probably will. But it's the impression that people get. I mean, it's not only just that when you're going through a really rough time for whatever reason that people just kind of like back away, rather than these close friends that you've had supposedly for years and years and years coming up to you and saying, "What's wrong? Can I help you?" And as Jane Fonda would say, it's a woman thing to do that. It's not a guy thing to do that. But I had women friends and I had guy friends. Doesn't matter who they were. None of the people that lived in this area ever talked to me again, and still don't. It's just sad. But and people that I talk to out of town, there are a couple people that I still talk to. My good friend Diane in Ohio, my mother, and my boyfriend. Those are the three people. And I have, those are the latter one was a person I met after it all was over with. And then I have a really good friend in another part of the world that I've known since right before I was homeless. So it's been about almost 10 years now, and he's kind of my best friend, even though it was really difficult. People that don't live here, and sometimes I hold out hope that maybe someday, but I've had, if I don't hear back from, I'm going to call them out at some point. I will call them out on particular things that they've said and done. So you can look forward to that if you know who you are. If you were a friend of mine during a time when I lost all my friends, and then I became homeless for a couple of years, about 7 years ago, then you can expect to be called out on it, because there's no. But more than anything, I just wish that I had them as friends like I always did. I dwell on this a lot, I think, and I don't know whether you know that I do, but I do. I feel like I do in my poetry and whatnot. And I'm feeling so loquacious this evening that I'm speaking about it, and maybe I'll feel bad about talking about it at some point. I don't think talking about it the way that I do right now, or the way I'm doing right now, is actually beneficial to anything or anybody, but I do have discovered that there may be some things in which I can do. And this was, again, thanks to a conversation I had with my brother just a few days ago, in which he said something to me which was the most weird, judgmental thing about how I was during a time period, like how I was so difficult. I knew I was difficult. I think I was actually publicizing the fact that I was. And that's a reason to not talk to me or try to help in a situation in which it's clearly I'm going through the worst thing I've ever been through in my life? I don't think so. Do you? I thought I had really good friends, I really did, and I didn't. It's just the weirdest thing. But anyway, and I was not always the best friend either, and I was difficult, no doubt about it. But there were things that I think people think that from that conversation I was having with my brother that are just, and I knew this all along, that are just completely not true. And someday I will write about this stuff. I keep writing toward it. I keep writing about it, and I've talked too long about it. But it takes up a lot. It has I'm doing job interviews again this week for the first time in months, because I was recovering from surgery and all that other good stuff. I worry that I'll never have a social life again. I've lived hermetically in this one place for four years. Before that, I was in 2 years in except for 6 months of that time period, I was in 2 years in a homeless shelter. And before that, I was in a couple of years kind of just in solitude for the most part in my own old home, having just had everyone just slowly disappear. By the time I became homeless, everybody was just kind of just gone. And to have someone, my brother, turn around and say, you realize you were really difficult during that time period. I'm like, yeah, I know I was. I actually, I was very aware, and I was public about the fact that I was. But I was also public about the fact that I was going through a really rough time. And I know that anybody that was a close friend of mine would have been able to tell that I was going through the worst time I've ever gone through in my entire life. And yet, I heard from no one. The exceptions at this point don't even count, because there were a couple of exceptions, but they're gone now. And it just boggles my mind. I lost faith in humanity until I met my partner, my boyfriend. I had lost faith in humanity completely. I just thought that everybody was an evil person, and there was no. I really almost had lost faith. Don't have that faith lost anymore. I really do believe. If there's anybody that's good in this world, there's at least one other person. And I'm not counting me. I do think I'm a good person.